welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be trying a very hyped up indie brand, and that is Cosmic Brushes. So I have two palettes here. I have the new Delicious Delights as well as the Muse palette. I'm going to be trying both of these palettes on my eyes today, just seeing if the formula is the same across the board, seeing what I think of the formula, if it's worth the hype in my opinion, as well as just inserting in some swatches of both of these palettes. So if that sounds good to you, if you like indie content, if you like eyeshadow content, then make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I'd love it if you stuck around. But with all that out of the way, let's just get started first inserting in some swatches and talking about these palettes. All right, so let's first talk about Delicious Delights. This was actually the first palette that I purchased, and then I got it in the mail, and for some reason, it was just so much smaller than I was anticipating. I was really expecting a bigger palette, like around the size of the ColourPop 30 pans, or even the Bella Beauté bars, like those big palettes. And I don't always love a big palette, which is why I've just been hesitant on purchasing from this brand. But once I saw Delicious Delights, I was like, okay, I don't have too many colorful eyeshadows. I don't have too many pastel palettes. So I'm gonna give it a shot because I've just been hearing so much. The price point isn't bad for these palettes. I think that this one was around $30 and the Muse was even less. So this is what Delicious Delights looks like, and I don't feel like it's too pastel. For me, this is perfect because I was considering the Pastel Gardens from Bella Beauté bar, but it was too big, too pastel. I feel like there's a good variety in this for me at least. So this is what this palette looks like. Here it is just kind of compared to my hand so you can get a size comparison because like I said, it just was so much smaller than I was anticipating. So that is why I ended up placing an order for the Muse palette because I had always wanted it, but I was like, I don't know if the color story is special enough to warrant having a big palette in my collection. But since I found out it was a little bit smaller than I was expecting, I definitely snagged up the Muse. Now, the Serenity palette was one of their first palettes and really, I think, put them on the map for popularity. That color story, I'm just not as big of a fan of, so I did not pick that up. And that's why I only have the two. So let's first now go over swatches of the Delicious Delights. I'm gonna go top to bottom, left to right, starting with whipped cream, zesty, minty, fizzy, lollipop, sprinkles, which is a multi-chrome, smoothie, candy floss, marshmallow, buttercream, gingerbread, frosting, milkshake, jelly bean, charms, sugar plum, sweetie, slushy, ice pop, and delicious. So I'm excited about this. You know, it's out of my comfort zone. I've been saying that a lot recently because I've just been branching out with a lot of indie eyeshadows and trying out different brands and really dipping my toes more and more into color. I'm here for it. I'm embracing it while it lasts. So that is the Delicious Delights. Now let's take a look at the Muse. And I don't think I'm gonna keep these little sleeves because there's nothing really special about them. No, I don't think I will. But here's what the Muse looks like. I love the color of this. This was the first palette I saw from Cosmic Brushes, and I did a double take, and then I tried to convince myself, like, no, you don't need that, but the price is good. So yeah, I ended up getting it clearly. After, like I said, the size was the biggest factor for me because I just know if it's too big of a palette, I won't reach for it. So here is what Muse looks like. Definitely a little darker, gonna be very good for fall now that, you know, summer's almost over. Apparently September is supposed to be warm since this summer here where I live in France, it's been a pretty shabby summer, let me just tell you. I've barely gotten tan at all. It's been raining a lot of days. It rained last night. It's just been very weird weather. But this will be a good palette going into fall. I'm excited about that. So hopefully I can get some use out of Delicious Delights and then move on to this Muse palette afterwards. But now let's go over swatches for Muse. Going, of course, top to bottom, left to right. We have Lust, Haze, Rosewood, Ambient, Faligree, Inspire, Sweet Pea, Patina, Nouveau, Admire, Softly, Pine, Muse, Fig, Amethyst, Antique, Willow, Water Lily, Petal, and Whisper. So these are just some really quick swatches of both of these palettes. Now I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer. I'm going to do one look on each eye with both of these palettes and then give my final thoughts. So let's start with, I think Muse, I'm gonna do the first look with, see what I come up with, and then we'll go to Delicious Delights. I will have chapters listed below, so if you wanna skip around, you can absolutely do that. But let's get started with this Muse palette. Going to just clip back my hair like normal. Everything that I'm wearing on my face today is listed down in the description box below. I have my baby hairs, they're gonna stick up. There's nothing I can do about that. So for this color story, the reason I wanted to start with this one is because the color story is a little bit more limited, whereas Delicious Delights has more variety. So like if I do a purple look in this palette, then I don't want to do a purple look in Delicious Delights. So that's probably what I'm going to do with this one, to be honest. I really want to try Petal here. This shade's also very interesting. It kind of matches my shirt, like a very pale sage green. I don't see a lot of eyeshadow colors like this. I think these two would go really well together, actually. Maybe I'll do this in the crease and deepen up the outer corner and then go in with some shimmers after that. I don't know. I think I'm gonna start with that though. I'm gonna dip into Softly and lay this down in the crease. Not gonna go, hopefully, too high. I need to start lower and bring it up if I need to. I tend to try to overcompensate for my hooded eyes. And now I'm not wearing any eyeshadow primer. I did use my concealer a little bit and just kind of try to cancel out the redness on my lid. That's as far as that went. But I don't have my normal eyeshadow primer because I kind of wanted to see how this worked on its own, and already like the shade is beautiful. I just love these shades that have a hint of gray in them. The gray greens, the gray purples. I'm all about that. Make sure to relax my eye to get the shape that I want. And I think that looks good for the shape. So now I'm going to go into Petal and I'm going to bring this in the outer corner. More is like my deepening up shade. I don't know if I like that. I think I'm actually, change of plans, I'm gonna blend out this Softly shade with Petal because it's a little bit more neutral, which is why I should have started lower. Oh well. So I'm gonna blend that out, kind of have it fade. Yeah, kind of like that. I'm gonna go back into Softly and just re-intensify it lower in my crease. Now that I kind of switched my plan up a little bit. That's better. And to deepen up the outer corner, I'm gonna actually take Rosewood. Let's do that. It's like this deep burgundy shade, and I'm just using the same brush because I'm lazy. That is what I wanted. I'm gonna cover up that part, bring it into the outer half, outer third, and I will clean this up at the end. I have a hard time seeing in the corners of my eyes. So that's just like laying down the mattes. I know it doesn't look like a very perfect blend. I'm gonna actually take a big fluffy blending brush and just quickly go over the edges. Go over it like that perfect. And then now go into the shimmers. Do I want to use a glitter glue? Probably. Quickly laying that down all over the lid. And I think for the shimmers, I'm gonna use Whisper on the outer half, and then, what is this? Muse for the inner half. And we'll probably use this Luster shade on the inner corner. So I'm just gonna use my finger, honestly, and tap it. This is brighter than I was expecting, but I think that's okay with like the deep dark rosewood shade. I'll probably go back in and intensify that. And going in with Muse. It's more orangey than pink. It's definitely like a duochrome. But there's no other. Maybe I'll go in with this antique shade. This is kind of sheer topper. Here's what that antique shade looks like. I'm gonna just layer it on top. I'm just playing around with this, so it's very hard pressed, that antique shade, but it kind of brought Muse down to that cool tone that I was looking for, so that's better. And now I'm gonna go back into Rosewood, like I said, and just re-intensify this outer corner because I don't want the purple to be too bright. And then again, going back in with Softly because I feel like that shade is being lost. It's kind of getting a little muddy, but that's my fault. It's just user error. And then just to tie it together, I'm gonna take Softly on the lower lash line. That way you really have that green in there. It's not showing up that great. I think I need a denser brush. Let me see. Going with like a denser shader brush for Softly. It just wasn't picking up with that Sonia G brush. That's better. And just a teeny tiny bit of Rosewood to tie it together. Last step is to add that beautiful white shimmer in the inner corner, which is Lust. It's kind of also not very subtle. It's more subtle than I was expecting. In the viewfinder, it doesn't look as subtle, but in person, it's really just a very light pink iridescent shift. I don't hate it, but I kind of wish it was a little bit something more. Anyways, I think that's it for Muse. I don't hate this look. I actually kind of like it a lot. It's a lot different for me. If you watch my channel, I don't do something like this all the way. I don't know if I love that like pink. I think that that's the only thing throwing me off, but I think I'm happy enough with it. Anyways, here is Muse. I'll do mascara after, but now let's do the second look with Delicious Delights. Now for Delicious Delights, I don't know. I kind of like how each row goes together. My brain really appreciates that. So I'm kind of deciding if I want to do this row or this pink row. I don't know. I think I'm going to do the pink row because I did a green, not this green, but I do have some green in here. And I also did a green look with the Glam Light Scooby-Doo palette. I'll link that video up above. But I haven't really done like this pastel-y sunset kind of look. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to just kind of use this in the crease. Just use all these shades. I'll read them out. Let's first start with Marshmallow. And I'm going to put that in the crease lower this time. I'm not going to make the same mistake, hopefully. Really just trying to concentrate that in my actual crease, not where I want my crease to be. And I'll probably have to go back in and intensify it, but for now it's there. And then I'm gonna take buttercream and blend out the edges with that shade. This buttercream shade's not as pigmented as I was expecting, but I will say they're very easy to blend. And it could also just be, I try to give benefit of the doubt with everything, but it could just be that this is a lighter shade, not that it's not pigmented. It's just not a dark shade. All right, so now that I have that down, make sure it's how I want when my eyes are relaxed. I do want that marshmallow a little bit more showing in this part of my eye. That's better. So now I'm gonna go in with Smoothie. It's that kind of hot pink neon. And I'm gonna put that on the outer corner. It's not really gonna be a depth shade. It's just gonna be like more of a pop of color. Maybe I'll do a halo with this. Is that too much? Like 2 colors in the crease and then this as a halo? I don't know, but I'm doing it. All right. Too late now. And I think I'm gonna do that color on the lower lash line while I'm at it. I like this shade. It's very poppy without being too much of a pop. Like I said, when I picked it up, this called out to me because it was color, but not just crazy color. And I'm gonna blend this bottom lash line out with buttercream just while I'm here. Going back into Marshmallow, I'm still losing that shade. It's okay. This is just me, again, not doing it great. But mostly I have Smoothie and buttercream showing up. I just want a little bit more Marshmallow, but that's also the most pastel shade in the palette. All right, so I like how that's looking. Now, I don't necessarily want to do a halo eye with these 2 shimmers. I was gonna put this multi-chrome on the outer half and then this one on the inner half, but I might just, that's what I'm gonna do. All right, Delicious is kind of like that iridescent pink. So I'm gonna put Candy Floss on top of Smoothie on the inner and outer half and then put Delicious right in the center. And I already have it on my finger, so I'm not gonna use a glitter glue. So I'm gonna put Delicious first. Really let that shine. And then Candy Floss. That inner part and outer part. I'm always afraid to do really pink looks because I always hear people say that you don't want to look like you have pink eye, so I've kind of just stayed away from it. But does this look like I have pink eye? You'll have to tell me in the comments. I've now just entered the age, I guess, where I've realized you can wash off makeup. So I don't mind experimenting as much. Whereas before I would experiment, but I still wanted it to be good. That's the perfectionist in me. So I would still, you know, I just have to be good at everything the first try. And that's why I would never really do this kind of stuff. But now I've just come to the point where it doesn't get better unless you make mistakes. So what do we think? I don't think this is bad for like a new person to colorful eyeshadow. I think this is still vibrant. I'm always worried that pastels are just gonna be too washed out, but this is really pretty. All that's left is the inner corner, but with the halo, I don't know. Originally I was gonna do whipped cream, the matte white, But I'm thinking that with the halo, it will be better if I do Marshmallow, which was the light pastel pink I put in the crease, just so it kind of ties that together. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. And if I don't like it, I will put whipped cream on top. It is a little bit bright than I'm used to. Let's kind of bring it into here. This is bordering pink eye, I think, a little bit for me. I'm gonna add just a touch of white and see if I can make it a little bit more pastel looking. That's better. Okay, so these are the two looks. I don't think that Muse needs any liner. I might do liner. I'm gonna do liner. I lied. Okay, sorry, we're not done. I'm gonna take my liner brush and go into Charms. For sure, Delicious Delights. I just need a liner. No, I'm not gonna go into Charmed. I'm gonna go into, take this pigment off my brush. I'm gonna go into Jelly Bean. I was originally gonna go into this deep dark purple, but I think this has more pink in it, and this will be a little bit more what I want. I just kind of want to define the lash line just a little bit. There, I added it to the top line and the lower line just a little bit, but it's subtle and it's exactly what I wanted. I think that it just pulls the look together more. Muse, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave how it is, but I'm now going to add mascara, come back, show you the final looks all complete. Mascara's on, the looks are complete. So this is the look with the Muse palette and this one with Delicious Delights. I quite like both of them. I'm going to show you what it looks like with my glasses on in case you also wear glasses. But let me scoot you out now and just talk about my overall first impression thoughts with this brand and these two palettes. I don't think it comes to anyone's surprise that I'm really happy with my purchase on both of these palettes. First of all, they're just a phenomenal formula. I understand the hype. And second, like, they're pretty affordable. So Delicious Delights, start with this one. I love this look. It's so Barbie, it's so music festival, it's so out of my comfort zone, but I'm happy with it. Sometimes when I do looks that are out of my comfort zone, I'm just feeling kind of back and forth, like I don't know if it suits me, but I could actually see myself wearing this on like a fun day out. So I'm just really happy. Again, I like how they kind of have row by row, you can do a look. Of course, you can bounce around if you're more creative. I have a little bit of trouble sometimes, so I like that it's a really nice layout. I like this matte white. I like that it has an iridescent white as well. So you have both. The white really came in handy to just kind of sheer this out and make it a little bit more pastel, which just makes this palette so much more versatile. So I didn't get to try this frosting. This is Sprinkles. I didn't get to try this Sprinkle shade, which is the multi-chrome in the palette, but I'll definitely be using this one in my next look. Overall, really pleased with this Delicious Delights. And I'm also happy with the Muse. When I was putting on my mascara and I was seeing the look just so much more up close, it can be hard for me to see sometimes. You know, I was really worried that this Softly shade wasn't showing up in the look as much, but it is just like this perfect, just hint of color. And I really like the look that I came up with. I do wish that Muse was a little bit cooler, less orangey, like I'm getting more cool tone. I feel like this is a little bit more warm tone, but this Antique shade toned it down, so I'm not too disappointed. I like both looks equally, quite honest. I like how like sultry this is without being too much. Next time I would probably do a liner like I did on this look, but for today, it's totally fine. I think they both just give a different effect. Like I said, this one, my eye shape is just more lifted, like going this way. This is just more fun, sunsetty. So, you know, you'll have to let me know down below in the comments what you think of Cosmic brushes, if they're also on your list to pick up, or if you're kind of hesitant because the hype can't be real all the time, like all these viral products that are usually just sponsored ads. But I think that Cosmic Brushes is definitely a brand that deserves the hype. This makes me want to reconsider buying Serenity just a little bit, but I'm gonna stay strong and try to remind myself of my first instincts, that it's not my color palette and I don't have to have every single palette from a brand just because the formula is good, but the formula is good in these palettes. So if Serenity speaks to you more than Muse or Delicious Delights, I really recommend picking them up. I had no problem ordering from them. They're from the UK, and I will be keeping an eye out from them in the future. The Delicious Delights also had a highlighting palette, but that didn't interest me as much. I don't need a lot of iridescent highlights. It's just not something that I would wear. And again, just because you collect makeup doesn't mean you have to have an entire set from the same brand. At least that's my opinion. So I'm really happy with these purchases. This is just a first impression. I will be testing out these palettes more, just trying out all the shades in them, just to make sure that my first impression wasn't wrong. And then I'll be doing a palette ranking. I will link up above the last palette ranking that I did, but I always do that after I've tried it a few times, at least 3. So make sure you're subscribed so you can stick around and see where these palettes rank compared to some other indie ones that I've been testing recently, because there's been quite a few that have come into my life recently. So that's all that I have to say about these. Again, let me know down below, do you already have these palettes, what you think of them? And that's where I'm gonna leave you all. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, everyone.